They say you can never serve two masters at the same time. But what happened if you found out that your partner had been taking contraceptive pills to prevent you from getting pregnant, leading to your childlessness in marriage? Let me know of your thoughts in the comment section below. Once upon a time, there lived a beautiful girl named Inado. She was a vibrant, hardworking and intelligent young girl from a very poor background. Inado was the first daughter in a family with 4 younger sisters and a brother. Her father, who was the breadwinner and a taxi driver, died when they were very young. He had an accident on his way back from work one evening and died right on the spot, leaving his wife and young children in abject poverty. Left with no means of survival, Inado had to grow up rather quickly to help her mother in her petty trade to support the family. At only 8 years old, she had started hawking different items around the market. When she became a teenager, she did all sorts of jobs to bring money home to support the family. She washed clothes for people, gave private lessons to children. She was even a filling station attendant at some point. Life after her father's death was tough, but Inado grew up to become tougher. She worked hard and studied even harder in school and was able to get a scholarship to finish her university education. And as soon as she graduated from the university, she threw herself right into work. She was diligent and saved every penny she earned to send back home to her mother and siblings. Enado never made friends because she was too busy working and she never saw the need to make friends anyways. Over the years, Inado was able to climb the professional ladder at her workplace and became a manager, and she was able to see all her younger siblings through school and gave her mother a better life. But as the years passed, Inado became a career-driven woman who had zero friends, zero love life, and zero social life. Her years of working so hard for survival had configured her brain and mind to default settings, which was work, work, and work. Soon, all her younger siblings graduated and they started getting married. But Inado never cared for such things as marriage and starting a family. At that stage of her life, all she wanted was to get to a director position before 40. Nothing more, nothing less. Her mother, Mama Inado, however, wasn't happy with the way her first daughter's life was going. She had always felt bad that Inado had to overwork to support the family. She felt responsible for how Inado turned out. But then again, things were better now. They were no longer struggling like before. So she wanted her first daughter to live for once. She wanted Inado to settle down and get married. Inado was in her 30s and she had never brought up the discussion of a boyfriend, not to talk of a husband, a fact that troubled Mama Inado and gave her sleepless nights. One day, Mama Inado called Inado in the office and began, "My daughter, I know you don't like to talk about this issue, but I cannot rest until I see that you are married and settled in your husband's house. Time is going, my daughter. You're no longer getting younger. All your sisters that you trained in school, they are all married. I'm worried for you, Inado," Mama Inado said with sadness etched on her voice. "Mommy, I don't have time for this kind of talk. I'm actually very busy at work. And for your information, I don't want to get married or have children. My career is more of a priority at this point. Please rest and stop disturbing me with husband matter." Inado snapped and hung up the call before her mother could say her next word. A few months later, Inado was sent by a company to a 1-week-long conference in Port Harcourt. There, she met a handsome man in his late 30s. His name was Bayo. Inado and Bayo sat next to each other on the first day of the conference meeting and they exchanged pleasantries briefly, not too much talk or drama. But as the days passed, Bayo started to really notice Inado. She was smart, beautiful, with a strong alpha female personality, just the way he liked his woman. Bayo approached Inado during lunch and they talked about the conference and business briefly. And Bayo couldn't help but like Inado even more. On the last day of the conference, he walked up to Inado and asked for a contact, and she reluctantly gave him a business card which had a number at the back. Truth was that Inado had been noticing Bayo too. He was handsome and strong, and he was successful and focused, just the way he liked them. But she had to play it cool. Her priority hadn't changed. She was not ready for anything serious. All she cared about was her career. A few days later, Bayo messaged Inado and she casually just replied, not to look like a snob. But before you know it, the chat became more frequent and Inado found herself actually enjoying Bayo's company, something that had never happened before. The chat graduated into calls and little by little, they started liking each other. But Bayo was a man on a mission. He took a step further by inviting Inado for lunch, and Inado couldn't refuse. All she did was smile and giggle like a secondary school girl at his invitation on their chat. And like a tornado, Bayo invaded Inado's world and bulldozed down her walls, and he planted something inside her heart. Love. Inado opened her heart and they started dating. But Bayo wanted something more. He wanted something serious. He wanted a family, children. So after a couple months of dating, Bayo asked Inado to marry him and she accepted. Inado loved Bayo. He made her feel safe and happy, but she was scared of the kind of commitment Bayo wanted. They had talked about the future. She knew Bayo wanted children and a stable family, but she wasn't ready to commit to that kind of life. Her career was still a top priority. But then again, she was in love with Bayo and she couldn't let him go. But can you eat your cake and have it? You can't serve two masters at the same time. A few months later, Bayo and Inado got married. They had a simple and intimate wedding with their close friends and family. The couple were happy and they basked in their marital bliss. The first month of marriage was heaven on earth for the couple. Their jobs were doing well. Financially, they were okay. But as the months passed, Bayo started talking about having children, a fact that didn't go down well with Inado because she wasn't ready to have kids. She had a target in mind to become a director before 40 years old, and having children would destroy her plans. Her promotion was just by the corner, so she needed the full concentration at work. But she never told Bayo that she wasn't ready to have children. She just agreed with whatever he said, while she had other thoughts in mind. 1 year passed, and the couple still couldn't conceive. Bayo became worried. He thought they would immediately start having children after their wedding, but things were not going as he had planned. But he didn't think much to it, since they had only been married for only a year. But before you know it, 3 years passed and still no show. By this time, Bayo was terribly worried that he couldn't stop thinking about the matter. So one day, he took his wife to a doctor's office to get their bodies checked, but the doctor told them they were in perfect condition to have children. Months passed and still no pregnancy. Bayo took Inado to other fertility clinics in the city and they did all manner of tests. They poked, they prodded their bodies to check for any abnormalities while the babies were not coming, but the tests all came back clean. Bayo spoke to his parents and they brought different concoctions to the house for them to drink, but there was no improvement. After Bayo had tried everything to no avail, he became frustrated and devastated to the extent that his best friend Tunde noticed the worry and sadness on his face at the office. One day, Tunde asked what the problem was, and Bayo reluctantly opened up about his childlessness and how him and his wife had been trying for a baby. My guy, is that why you have been off lately? Cheer up. Children would come at the right time, Tunde said, trying to cheer his friend up. When is the right time today? It's been over 3 years. The doctors all said we are good to have children. So why are they not coming forth? I'm getting tired. You know I've always wanted kids, Bayo said, as tears welled up in his eyes. My guy, I know it can be frustrating, but calm down. Meanwhile, have you both considered IVF? My wife and I used it for our second and third baby. That might work, Tunde said. That day, Tunde told Bayo about a fertility clinic that specialized in IVF in the city, and he told him how and his wife went about the whole treatment. You see, they said a problem shared is a problem half solved. Thanks, man. I will discuss this with my wife and we'll follow it up. That day, Bayo's hope was revived. He closed early from work and excitedly rushed home to tell his wife about the IVF procedure. When he got home, he broke the news to Inado, but she froze in fear. This was bad news for her, as she didn't want to get pregnant. In fact, she had been the reason they were still childless. Inado had been secretly taking contraceptive pills every day to prevent pregnancy, pretending it was her vitamins. Babe, I heard that IVF is risky for the woman and the success rate is low. She tried to discourage her husband, but Bayo was determined. Honey, I read about it. It's not risky at all. Tunde and his wife used it for their second and third baby. Tomorrow, let's visit the fertility clinic and hear directly from the doctor's mouth, Bayo suggested. Bayo, I'm tired of the hospital visits and the needles. Can we just leave everything in God's hands? God's time is the best. I know, my love. I know you have been through a lot and I'm sorry things are the way it is. But we can't relent too. This is an opportunity we can't afford to miss. If IVF is the only way forward, then we need to take action. Inado tried to discourage Bayo from doing the IVF, but Bayo already had his mind made up. The next day, Bayo woke up very early and dressed himself for the hospital visit. But when he tried to wake Inado to get ready, she started shivering like a chicken drenched in rain. Honey, I'm not feeling fine, oh. I can't go to the hospital today. Let's go another day. My head aches. My body is paining me, she said, faking her sickness. Bayo stood there in their bedroom disappointed and sad, but his wife was sick and he couldn't possibly force her to the hospital. After all, it was her body that would carry the baby. But for the next couple of weeks, Inado gave series of excuses while she couldn't go to the fertility clinic, a fact that left Bayo feeling devastated. One day, Inado went to the office like any other day. It was a Friday, and there was a staff meeting later that afternoon. Inado went into the conference room where the meeting was being held. She took her seat majestically as a proud manager in the company. But something terrible happened that day. As the meeting progressed, Inado felt a sharp, blinding pain on her lower belly that started like small cramps small days ago. But now this pain was so intense that Inado screamed out and fell to the floor, clutching her belly. The other staff were shocked to see Inado screaming out loudly, and they panicked. They tried to help her get up, but Inado couldn't get up. It was like the intensity of the pain was increasing by the minute. The whole office was in chaos as Inado screamed down the entire building in pain. That day, they rushed her to the hospital. Bayo was working in his office when he got a call from his wife. But when he picked the call, it was a stranger's voice telling him his wife had collapsed at the office and has been rushed to the hospital. Bayo panicked and he dashed out of his office straight to the hospital to see his wife. When Bayo got to the hospital, he rushed inside the hospital ward Inado was admitted, and the sight of his wife shocked him. Inado was unconscious with different machines plugged to her body. Bayo was surprised. His wife was hale and healthy when she left the house this morning. So what went wrong? As he was still trying to gather his thoughts, the doctor walked into the ward and said, "Good day, sir. Are you related to this patient?" "Yes, doctor, she's my wife," Bayo replied. Doctor, what is wrong with my wife? She was healthy this morning when she left for work. The doctor hesitated for a few seconds and motioned for Bayo to step out of the hospital ward to the hospital corridor. There, he broke the news that had Bayo trembling. Mr. Bayo, your wife is in a very critical condition. We ran some tests on her and we discovered that she had been taking a very strong contraceptive pill that didn't agree with her system. She had even been abusing it and it has caused severe damage to her fallopian tubes. We don't know the extent of the damage yet, but one of her fallopian tube is completely ruined and needs to be removed with surgery immediately. Since you are the husband, you will need to sign a consent form. Doom, doom, doom. That was the sound Bayo's heart was making. It felt as though cold water was heaped on him, and then his body jolted by electric current. Contraceptive pills? Fallopian tube? How? Since when? Why? These were the questions in Bayo's head. He could no longer understand the rest things the doctor was saying. He had heard enough to send him into a coma. Mr. Bayo, can you hear me? The doctor called out. Mr. Bayo, I need you to sign the consent form so we can begin the surgery immediately. Bayo picked up the pen and moved his hands to sign the form. It was just his hand that was moving. His mind was in 1,000 places at the same time. After he handed the form to the doctor left him in the hospital corridor, and Bayo was left alone with his raging thoughts. It was then reality dawned on him. Inado had been taking pills to prevent pregnancy when he had been worried sick about their childlessness. Bayo remembered the numerous hospital visits, the doctor's appointments, the tests that they did, and the concussion they both took just to have children. Inado knew what she was doing all this while. She had been taking him on a ride, taking him for a big fool. If this was not betrayal, then what is betrayal? Bayo thought to himself as tears streamed down his face. A few hours later, the doctor announced that the surgery was successful. One of Inado's fallopian tube was removed and the other one was severely affected. The doctor announced that it may be difficult for her to have children in the future. The doctor's words tore through Bayo like a sharp scissors. But what could he do? The damage was already done. After a few weeks in the hospital, Inado was discharged and the couple went home to face their new reality. Bayo was so heartbroken that he couldn't say a word to his wife. He just stood by her side, supporting and helping her heal. And Inado, guilt ate her up from inside. She saw the look on Bayo's face. He was devastated. He didn't need to say anything for her to know he was heartbroken. At this point, it was only God that could save their marriage. For the next couple of months, Bayo turned into a stranger in their house. He became a different person entirely. He barely spoke to Inado and he started spending lesser time at home. First thing in the morning, he would dress up and go to work, and he wouldn't return until midnight. Even on weekends, Bayo was never home. Who could blame him? He was angry at his wife. He had been contemplating divorce for months now. What was the need of the marriage if he couldn't trust her and if she might not be able to bear children for him? Their marriage was hanging on a thin thread and they both knew it. Things continued to take a downward turn in their home for months until one day, Inado went to her mother-in-law's house to beg her to intervene. She was losing her man gradually. When Inado got to Mama Bayo's house, she went on her knees in tears and confessed all she had done. She begged Mama Bayo to help her talk to Bayo. She knew Bayo held his mother in the highest esteem, and the woman was a wise, God-fearing woman. Inado, how could you do something like this? You get mine though. Since you knew you were not ready for children, why did you not tell your husband about your feelings? My dear, marriage is about communication. Nobody is saying you shouldn't pursue your career, but you can't make decisions that would affect the both of you all by yourself. Inado, what you did was very wrong. Mama, I know. That's why I came. I was blinded by my ambitions because of my background. I wanted to make it to the top by all means, and it seems my action is about to destroy my home. Mama, help me beg Bayo. He is slipping away from our marriage by the day. He has changed completely. Help me beg him to give me a second chance. Mama Bayo stared at Inado, who was crying bitterly, and she shook her head. I hope you have learnt your lesson. I hope you now know when to pursue your career and when to build your home. Children have blessings from God, and they can never hinder you from achieving your goals in life. Anyways, I will call Bayo now and talk to him. I hope he can forgive you. I can't force decisions on him. That day, Mama Bayo called Bayo and asked him to come to the house to see her immediately for something urgent. 30 minutes later, Bayo arrived at his mother's house and he was shocked to see his wife sitting beside his mother. Bayo, sit down, I want to talk to you, Mama Bayo said with seriousness. Mama, say what you want to say. I'm very busy at the office. Bayo, sit down, my son, Listen to your mother. After minutes of convincing Bayo to take a seat, he finally agreed and sat down on one of the couch in the living room. My son, your wife came to me to confess all her bad character. I scolded her, oh. I scolded her well. What she did was bad. But my son, to err is human and to forgive is divine. Please forgive your wife, Please, my son. Mama, I have forgiven Inado. It's just that I can never forget her betrayal. I can never trust her again. She broke my heart so badly, and I don't think things will ever remain the same between us. My son, please give her a second chance. She has learnt her lesson. She's ready to have plenty children now, Mama Bayo said. Mama, which children? The doctor said it will be difficult for her to bear children in the future. Mama, I'm tired of this marriage. Bayo snapped. His words broke Inado's heart, but she couldn't blame him. She brought this upon herself. She was selfish and reckless. She hoped she doesn't lose Bayo and their marriage. Bayo, you can't be tired of this marriage. It is for better or for worse. Your wife has repented of her bad behavior. You forgive her and children will follow. Please, my son, I'm on my knees. Please forgive your wife, Mama Bayo said, as she knelt down before her son to beg. Bayo jumped up immediately to pull his mother from the ground. He couldn't refuse his mother now. Mama Bayo knew exactly what to do to get Bayo to do her biddings. That day, Bayo forgave his wife and gave her another chance, and they both went home. The drive to their house was awkward and silent. They both didn't know what to say to each other, so they chose silence. When they got to the house that evening, Inado held her husband's hands and sincerely apologized for her actions in the past. She vowed to always communicate with her husband and carry him along in everything she did. Bayo told her he had forgiven her and he had given her a second chance to prove herself in the marriage. He loved Inado and he didn't want to lose her too. A few weeks later, Inado fell sick and she went to the hospital for checkup. But she got the greatest news of her life. She was pregnant. Inado couldn't believe her eyes. She thought she might never be able to get pregnant naturally again. But there she was, pregnant. When she got home that evening, she broke the news to Bayo, who was overjoyed. Finally, his dream of having his own family was coming to pass, despite the ups and downs they had faced. A few months later, Inado gave birth to a set of twins, and the couple were excited to become parents. Inado was grateful for the second chance she got to do the right thing. She was grateful for a husband like Bayo, who showed her that she could have a stable home, children, and a thriving career. Inado was appointed a director in her office a few months later, and Bayo was there to support her every step of the way. Thank you for watching. Hi lovelies, what do you think of the story? If you were Bayo, would you ever forgive your wife? Let me know of your thoughts in the comment section below. What morals have you learned from the story? The moral of this story is that we should know when to strike a balance between building a successful career and building a home. Wrong use of contraceptive pills had destroyed many lives and homes. We should always consult a certified medical practitioner on the right use and how to go about it. Thank you for watching again. If you are still watching this video up to this point, please give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so by now. Turn on the bell icon to get notification on our latest releases. And until I bring another juicy and interesting story your way again, bye for now.